Hello.
Kia ora, welcome back to part 3, final part.
Schrader, which will probably be
Schrader
a short part.
forever. Yes, but
And so Light Sleeper features Willem Dafoe and another one of these man alone in his room roles that Schrader is very fond of. I think that they're actually Schrader's strongest films, those ones, that his most Bressonian films as well. I mean, obviously we just said that Mishima is, probably our favourite as well. But
there is an element of Man Alone with Mishima though, because
he's a writer, so he's alone in his room a lot.
Yeah, he was a very kind of independent figure in a lot of ways. And the things he did towards the end of his life were very individual, which is
you could say that that act of seppuku, of harakiri, is a very transcendental moment.
Very much, yes. I still think it follows the Bressonian themes, and I find it the most transcendental, I think, in a lot of ways.
So yeah, this could almost be my favourite Paul Schrader film. One off. Yeah.
The music though, that's something that
I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, like you said, I might get used to it.
I still find it kind of funny. Like his voice is so over the top, and he's like a wannabe kind of Springsteen, wannabe Bob Dylan singer.
I found that quite jarring.
Yeah,
I think once if you can get used to that, or you don't mind the music, a lot of people probably might mind it. It would probably be a lot more enjoyable.
So it's called Light Sleeper, and Schrader usually tries to call his Man Alone in Their Room films like quite literal titles, like American Gigolo and The Card Counter. But he thought that this one is too he didn't want to call it Drug Dealer.
Yeah.
So sadly. Light Sleeper is just obviously he just can't sleep much. So I like Light Sleeper as a title.
Yeah, I think it's a great title actually.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that you couldn't just call it Drug Dealer, but I actually think Light Sleeper is prettier and more poetic.
Yeah. So he's a drug dealer in a more sort of high class drug dealing scenario. He works for Susan Sarandon in a really cool role. I love her a lot.
She's so cool.
And it also features, forgotten the guy's name, but he plays one of the characters in The Thing.
In The Thing, yeah. He's one of the more forgettable characters.
I like his character.
He's great though.
Actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's it's sort of a bit of a murder mystery as well. Like there are a lot of cops always harassing Defoe's character as well for more information, and there's a very sort of sleazy German drug addict as well.
A lot of Schrader's characters are kind of harassed by cops or have bad run-ins with the cops. I don't think he likes the cops very much. No. And if you lived in America, I doubt many people do like the cops. Yeah. Yeah, I can see Schrader sort of seeing them being an oppressive force.
Well, he was saying before, his best friends were gay, and I think a lot of gay people are kind of harassed by people like that in society. And
drug dealers, even though the war on drugs has been completely useless. Just can't believe we're still making drugs illegal. Weird.
It's ridiculous.
Real weird.
So, what was I going to say?
It's funny actually, I noticed that it was about 31 minutes of the film, the cinematography is so unremarkable. I was just like, it didn't have any of the 31 minutes. It doesn't have any of the kind of
And then
suddenly, where he's sitting down having like a conversation with his ex-girlfriend.
You keep saying that.
Yeah, so that's what I found. I thought, gee, the cinematography in this is very straight.
I don't know. I think you'll disagree with yourself when you watch it again, because that opening shot is beautiful. It's like this hovering shot of the city, but a very specific tempo, quite slow, and it's like a very unnatural shot, a very stylized shot.
Yeah, sort of outside of the introduction shot. But I just thought he was playing it quite straight. And then boom, there's this moment where Willem Dafoe's character and his ex-girlfriend are sitting opposite each other at a table. And then it sort of goes from one angle where you're seeing them, they're in like a hospital dining room, cafeteria or whatever. And they're sort of sitting in this one, and then boom, it changes around, and you sort of see the wall between them, and it's just such an amazing. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Because I've come to sort of expect to some degree, like a really, like a level of kind of just really interesting cinematography. The only one that had the cinematography where I was just like, it was what was the one with the the one that we didn't like, the one that we gave up on.
Afflicted. We're about to
Afflicted.
talk about that,
Yeah. Sorry, we'll talk about that later.
Affliction.
Affliction. Yes.
Yeah, I've tried to watch it 3 times, I think, but I just really don't. I don't care about the characters. You know.
It's very macho.
It's very bland looking as well.
It's very different.
But he purposely tries to not make certain films stylish, like Affliction, because he purposely tries to make certain ones stylized, like American Gigolo and Comfort of Strangers, for example. They are 2 of his most stylized films.
I like his range. It's really good. He doesn't have one set style. A lot of films, there are some running themes in most of them, but at the same time they're also very different from each other. They look different, they feel different. It's quite amazing how he accomplishes that.
So Defoe was actually sent by Schrader on real life drug deals to research his character, and Defoe has said that he thinks that the people buying the drugs, because he was selling the drugs, or he was maybe just there while they were buying the drugs. The people buying them recognized him from other films, but that they didn't want to say anything because they thought they might not get their drugs if they did.
Wow.
Which is quite sort of funny. And yeah, Wim Wenders sent Schrader a telegram after seeing this film and congratulating him on making such a, what did he call it? He said that this film is in a league with Ozu, who
that's huge compliment.
Which is huge, and Schrader has written that book, Transcendental Film, which is about Ozu. So he would have been very thankful for that.
Wow.
Which is quite nice.
Yeah.
I was just watching something last night, interview with Jim Jarmusch, and who said that he made his first film thanks to Wim Wenders giving him leftover film stock that he hadn't used.
Wow.
So he's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm
what
not
a good guy.
I don't love all of Wim's films, but
I haven't seen that many, but Wings of Desire was
he's made a lot.
Beautiful.
But I like some of his early ones, like The American Friend, that's really, really cool, and Alice in the Cities.
Yeah, I haven't seen those.
Yeah, there are some pretty cool ones. But yeah, anyway. So we talked about the Bob Dylan songs. Sam Rockwell has a cameo. Baby Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, he's so baby Sam. Gosh, he's a great actor too.
Just one scene. But he's quite different because he's playing this real thuggish kind of, quite sort of lightly spoken thug.
He really is. He's a real scene stealer. Even back then, the guy's got some real acting chops and a really fascinating presence. He's wearing this super cool jacket, this leather jacket. That's ridiculous. But I wanted it. But it was ridiculous. And I just really enjoyed that little cameo, seeing a young Sam Rockwell being he wasn't even that shady. He just seemed like quite a cool drug dealer, kind of badass.
I don't know if I could trust him.
Oh, hell no. No.
Yeah. And it's also got David Spade in the cameo.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's like this sweety little
coked out of his mind
guy. He's just saying all this stuff that
like,
I think he probably thinks is quite profound.
Just listen to me, don't go.
Just listen to me, yeah.
Yeah, he just wanted to ramble on like a lot of drug addicts do.
Yeah, it's gonna be. It's got a sense of kind of mischief to it. I think
there's a narration in the film, an ongoing narration where, and he's like, Willem Dafoe's character says, everybody just wants to talk, and they just keep rambling.
That's funny. There's this moment where he's writing things down on a bit of paper about because
that's taken from Bresson's Diary of a Country Priest, with the priest like writing in his note journal every day.
Because there's this bit where he's talking about people who are left-handed. He's got a list of left-handed people and a list of people that have different coloured eyes. And I don't know why, but that really stuck with me. I just thought it was quite... Just those little details about a character really make them into so much more than your usual character that just gets like... I don't know, just like I love the touches he puts on his characters.
Yeah.
And those things sort of stuck with me. Oh, I know I'm going right back to Cat People, but really quickly. There's a moment at the beginning of Cat People where Malcolm McDowell's character meets up with his sister, and there's like a sort of the housekeeper. I'm not quite sure what her position is in the household is, but they all meet and they sort of hug. And there's this moment where someone, and I can't figure out where that came from. Someone, one of these hands somewhere,
like
throws this object, and Malcolm just catches it like really deftly, like it's just nothing. And I keep thinking about that moment because I've never seen anything quite like it in film. I'm like, where did that object come from? How come he caught it?
It's almost like something you'd see in a Tarkovsky film, but in slow motion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so. I guess it was referencing that he's got these cat-like reflexes, but it's one of those blinks and you'll miss it moments. But that's what I mean. That's what I mean about like the way that he adds these little things and just slips them into his films, and I'm like, I haven't really seen that before, but those little moments really stick with you.
Yep.
It's a way of it's like showing, not telling, done in a really clever way, but you blink and you'll miss it. But I love those little details in all his films. They're really interesting.
So what would you give this one?
Light Sleeper?
Yeah.
Just
be honest.
Three hearts out of 5.
Okay, I'd give it I'll give it a 4.
So 7 out of 10 hearts.
Yep.
That doesn't sound like enough.
No, that's all right. I'd probably give it a 7.5 if it was just me.
Okay, 7.5 out of 10 hearts.
And next we're going to skip Witch Hunt and Touch and get straight to Affliction, which we really didn't like. Well, I don't really have much else to say about that.
We really tried. I mean, there's great Sissy Spacek. I love her. Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte, and like this is probably the performance of his life.
Oh
really.
yeah, I mean, it should have been.
He spent a long time. He was sort of in talks with Schrader from the early 90s, I think, about this film. So that he was thinking about it a lot, and he really, when they got to filming the film, they everybody felt underprepared because Nolte kind of knew this character inside out. Schrader said that Nick Nolte kind of made him feel embarrassed about his approach to the film because he just knew the character inside out.
So if you like Nolte, this is the film for you. But we just couldn't. I just
got bored.
We were bored. We found ourselves fast forwarding bits, which we would never normally do. It's very. I don't know. It's
intentionally bland. I think like you'll find this too with Blue Collar. Like I think Paul Schrader has this thing where if he's setting it like if he has a character like Julian Kay in American Gigolo, he's gonna capitalize on those suits and that high lifestyle with money and style. But if they don't, if they're like blue collar workers, or if they're like a poor cop in a sort of a snowy, bleak town, he's gonna make it look visually very bland.
But I normally really enjoy those kinds of films. But maybe it was just too much.
Too much Schrader, and we didn't care about watching that.
I just don't really care much about the characters. I mean, the story in theory is really good, and it's also his most highly rated film on IMDb. So that's his most popular film. Most highly rated films?
One of, Mishima might be high.
Sorry, I better get just not really something. So I'm not even going to rate it because I just.
If I was rating it out of 10, I'd probably give it like 5.
It's not good if we have to we couldn't really watch it and we kept getting distracted and I found myself on my phone, which is never a good sign. So.
Anyway, we're getting to one that we are skipping a few of his films here and there. Just because he didn't have time to literally watch that.
I don't think I could watch anymore.
He's a very prolific director.
I do want to see all of his films eventually, but it's quite a lot.
All of them have something interesting about
Definitely,
them. I mean, even Touch and Witch Hunt. But next up is Autofocus. Do you want to say something about that?
Okay, well, wow. This film is something else. It's about Bob Crane, the actor that played Hogan in Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan!
And it starts out like gorgeous, like fairy tale, like the cinematography, the lush colours, it's so pretty.
Very 60s and
very
like
60s
sort of like crisp and colourful,
gorgeous.
And like you feel like you're in an episode of not Hogan's Heroes, but you like what's one of those 60s kind of family comedies, like
Brady Bunch.
Partridge Family, or I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's just all so happy and beautiful and bright, and all the characters are so fresh, and then the way the film looks, the way it's shot, It goes from these classic kind of pans and like, you know, just these graceful sort of camera movements to sort of these jarring, shaky movements. It basically disintegrates and looks more and more like just real life.
Very bleak.
And then it looks like really degraded real life.
If you've ever been really depressed, you'll recognise that.
Or
that
you've been in
part
the
of
grips
the
of
film.
an addiction
Yeah.
of any kind. It's amazing how it does this, and it's so subtle that you know, if you went to like the last third of the film and you compared that to what the first third of the film looks like, you wouldn't think it was the same film.
No.
But it's so clever because it's showing the deterioration of Bob Crane as being someone, you know, who maybe has a bit of porn and
Sex addiction, definitely.
Yeah, you know, like it starts off with him, but you know, he's got some raunchy magazines, because you know this is back in the day before the internet.
No, but it shows
and home movies. So he just starts out as someone, you know, maybe, you know, like he likes kind of having his alone time, but then he develops this raging sex addiction, and it is.
It's very serious. I mean, it's a serious thing.
Film.
So for anyone that doesn't think that's a serious, it shows you how it can ruin your career and your life, your marriages, and
yeah, and a lot of people sort of blow it off as
in the
being
same
like, well,
way
it's not that bad.
alcoholism will as well.
And so in that respect, I think it's a very, very important film, because sex addiction is a very serious addiction, just like anything else. It causes just as much mayhem and misery. And you wouldn't think so, but I mean, because humans are wired to procreate, but you can go over the top with
We
that.
need to watch that one with Mark Ruffalo as a sex addict.
Yes, I'd really like to see that. And there's that other one with there's a really good film about sex addiction. Was it called Shame?
Yeah, fuck yeah. I love that.
So
That's
good.
Steve McQueen was always one of my favourite living directors.
Boy, that is a good film. So I think it's really important to talk about because it's not really addressed. I mean, sex in the movies is kind of like, you know, laid on really thick. It's kind of glamorized, but yeah, there's just sex. But that really brought about the complete downfall of Bob Crane, who from the start seems like actually a really nice person, quite wholesome, quite innocent, and he just slowly is dragged into this world of just so sordid and so disgusting. And Willem Dafoe's in it, and he's just actually so
With these
creepy.
contact lenses, which make him look so different.
He looks so weird. It was
Yeah.
scary, yeah. But a really interesting film, and I think it's one of those films that I expected to kind of be more of a mainstream hit because of how it originally looks. But yeah, a lot of people are going to get probably quite freaked out when they saw the tone and the sort of way
The
it was
tone,
done
the disintegration. I think the only film that I can think of that's similar is Boogie Nights.
Yes.
Which, you know, after the 1980
Yeah.
clock turns around, it's like everything goes downhill and the characters become quite depressed and depressing, and are in these very dangerous situations.
Yeah, but I think that the autofocus goes even further with actually how it visually looks. Who's the main actor again?
Greg Kinnear.
Yeah, he's
from Nurse Betty.
so good. Yeah.
Which we love.
Surprised how much I loved that movie. But he's a really, really great actor, and he played the character so well. But it is quite depressing in
a big
way,
factor in how depressing it gets, which is very intentional, is Angelo Badalamenti's score, which is so beautiful, so beautifully kind of bleak.
It was very kind of Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks era Badalamenti, and it just works gorgeously.
It's a bit later than that, but
it's still got that sort of sound.
Could be
to
from
it.
that era. Yeah, it's very melancholic, very melancholic,
but beautiful. And I mean, it's a really interesting story. It's a true story, and it's been done really, really well. And I find myself thinking about that film quite a bit.
So what would you give that one?
I give it definitely probably a 4 out of 5 hearts.
Yeah,
it's really up there.
I'd give it like a 3.5. I mean, I like it a lot, but
7.5.
That's the same as for me as Light Sleeper. So.
Yeah, so I'd probably like that one a bit. So you like Light Sleeper, and I like Autofocus about the same. So yes, to the same degree. So 7.5 out of 10 hearts for that.
Well, well, our negotiation of distribution of hearts.
We're good at negotiating, compromise.
So
behind every successful relationship. But yeah.
Well, now we get to an unsuccessful relationship with Paul Schrader and his producers on Dominion, the Exorcist prequel.
Which could have been
fucking amazing.
Yeah, it could have been.
But there's these stupid producers, of course. They got him to make it. I'll go into it. They had someone else lined up, John Frankenheimer, who did the Island of Dr. Moreau, but he ended up dying, and so they couldn't use him, of course.
He did the second director on that film. Yeah.
Some few names came up, and I think someone, one of the producers liked Schrader, or maybe not the producer, but anyway, his name came up, and here, like Liam Neeson, was going to be the main actor, but
I'm glad it was Skarsgård instead.
Yeah, for a couple of different reasons. One was that he had just done something not similar, but a film a performance that might have been a little bit similar or something. He didn't want to do the same thing, and he also didn't want to do a character that he thought was too interior. He's one of these actors that can only play characters that are similar to himself, which I kind of think that's a bit stupid.
Which makes him not as great.
Which is like he's not a good actor. I mean, acting is being someone else.
That's the exciting part of acting, is becoming someone else.
I'm not a big fan of him. I mean, you can see what kind of actor he is doing all these films like Taken, those action.
He was good in that one with the wolves. That was pretty good. That was a bit more gritty. Some wolves, grey wolf or Norse, or I don't know. It's not what he's talking about.
Anyway, so he was luckily replaced by Stellan Skarsgård.
Yay, Stellan Skarsgård! We freaking love that guy. He's awesome.
So Schrader, it was quite kind of out of Paul Schrader's hands, the replacing him thing, but he was very happy to have Stellan Skarsgård replacing him, because he was a big fan of his roles. I think he hasn't said it, but I'm pretty sure he would be very much a fan of Breaking the Waves, with its transcendental moment with the bells and the clouds ringing.
Yeah,
that's very
that is transcendental.
It's very like something.
Actually, yeah.
Andrea, like Audette or something.
Because Lars von Trier, he does.
Actually, von Trier is very influenced by Dreyer, who's a lot of people say that he's from the same country. And a lot of people say that von Trier is the heir to Dreyer's filmography.
Okay, I really need to watch
those
films immediately.
There's all these things I need to remember.
Put them on the list, yeah.
But anyway, so The Exorcist,
It didn't get really released, did it?
No, because the producers thought that they probably looked back and saw that he'd made Cat People, so he could do these kind of bigger budget effects horrors, and although it's quite sort of different in a lot of ways, but he, of course, Schrader being Schrader, he made a film that was more of an intellectual character. I mean, film. He looked at the character and he kind of wrote it around the character who, of course, in the original Exorcist, there's Father Merrin, who's sort of very interior. So he wrote this film that doesn't have a lot of effects in it, and I think there isn't even like a traditional scare until like an hour into the film. And
that scare's pretty gruesome though.
Yeah, and but the only way that this film has been released is like online, because it didn't get originally released because the producers thought that it was too intellectual, and they didn't give him enough funds at the end to even finish the film properly. Like they literally only gave him like 30 grand for their CGI effects, which are terrible.
So
like there are some hyenas which you'll just fall off your chair laughing because they look so decrepit.
Yeah,
and it's like
good.
It's sort of it's a film you shouldn't be laughing in, really, because it's just like you want to be scared by an Exorcist film.
It had some really good moments, but it doesn't. And Stellan's amazing as usual, but it just doesn't really get anywhere.
I feel like a traitor even saying this, but I actually far prefer the film that was remade, The Exorcist, the beginning, which is literally basically the same film, made by the producers. Probably thought, okay, we've spent so much money making a film that we thought could have been a big hit, so we're just gonna get some shitty kind of horror director that we know will make it scary, who was Rennie Harlan, who did one of my favourite Nightmare on Elm Street films, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, which is pretty good, actually. It's like probably my third favourite Nightmare film. But he's a very prolific director who just makes these kind of actiony horrors, and he kind of pulled it off. But,
I still don't like the CGI on that either, though.
No.
I was like, no, that's so... I'm just...
You just don't like CG.
So I just don't generally
But we've
like
seen
it.
quite a few films recently that actually that
like,
they
that's
use CG in a pretty good way.
Stranger Things is... They've got some practical effects with CGI that I don't mind.
The Sadness.
The Sadness had very little CGI.
I know, but it
but
had
the CGI that was in there was
parts.
just mwah, perfect.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So yeah, it's one of Paul Schrader's not very good films because of the way that it turned out.
Yeah,
really.
could have been good. Had some really promising moments.
Actually,
had some nice gruesome moments.
Angelo Badalamenti was one of 3 composers attached to this film, so there are little bits of his score in there. But you know, it's so kind of like you can tell it's just so interfered with by the hands of the production company.
I
so
still liked it better than the Canyons.
Yes, which is that up.
So we're not going to rate that one because I just don't think it's really fair.
The Dominion.
Do you want to rate it?
It's funny rating shitty films. I mean,
but I don't want
I'd give it like a 4 or 5 out of 10. 4.5 actually.
So like a 2 and a 3, with 2.5 between us. So 5 out of 10 hearts sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It could be less. It could kind of be a 4 out of 10.
Yeah. So the next is one that we really did like, Adam Resurrected.
That's so weird.
It is very weird. Actually, that is probably one of my favourite Schrader films.
It's so weird, and it didn't really get much of a release, but it's really...
People just don't even know what you're talking about when you say Adam Resurrected. Jeff Goldblum, I mean, we love that actor, and it will easily be the performance of his career. I mean, people know him in something like Jurassic Park, but this is a film where he really gets to, show his acting chops. He's stretching them. It's great.
This is the one that's haunted me the most in terms of like it's stuck in my head the most. Certain scenes, certain images, the feeling it gave me.
Yep.
It's gotten under my skin more than any of the other ones.
Beautiful score by Gabriel Yared, who's like a Greek composer who is kind of known as the composer who worked with Anthony Minghella, who on The English Patient and Helen to Mr. Ripley, and beautiful scores on those films, and Cold Mountain as well, before he died. A very early death, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a beautiful film. Interesting story, I think, too. It was based on a novel, which I haven't read, of course, but it's, got a great performance, or kind of a horrible performance, by Willem Dafoe as a Nazi officer who's kind of gets Adam, played by Goldblum, to basically, literally only act as a dog for the whole film, which is kind of, those are flashbacks, black and white flashbacks in a Nazi concentration camp.
It's one of the most interesting films about the Holocaust that I've ever seen.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah. And there's these scenes where he sort of painted himself up in black and white, and these black and white scenes are just so interesting.
Yeah.
And like I said, like you pause pretty much any moment in this film, and it's just so beautiful. The colours are so beautiful. The compositions are so beautiful. It's got some degrading kind of moments in it, not just for Jeff Goldblum's character, but also this woman that he has a relationship with.
I've forgotten her name, but she's
really good.
German actor, I think, maybe.
Yeah. But very, very, very interesting film with kind of more mystical elements.
It's his most Jewish film. I mean, I don't think he's Jewish, but it's a very important film, I think. I mean, I'm not a fan of war movies. I mean, Apocalypse Now, just because of how stylish it is. I love that film, but this is, and I prefer war movies that aren't really war movies.
Yeah.
You know, like Shoah by Claude Lanzmann as well. I mean, that's one that
It's so
hard one to say that I love. We're nearly there.
We're nearly there. I'm sorry.
So what would you give this one?
Because of the impact that it had, and the interesting storytelling, all that kind of stuff, it's pretty up there. So I'd say like 3.5, 4 out of 5.
I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, so 8 out of 10 hearts.
Yeah.
If you can track it down, see it. It's something else. It really is something else. Oh, and it's got the guy from Francis Bacon. He played Francis Bacon. Oh yes,
of course, Derek Jacobi.
I think he's fantastic, and he plays a really great role in this.
Yeah, very nice character.
Yeah, so really interesting film. Really, really, really weird, but it works. So yeah, 8 out of 10 hearts.
So now we get to your favourite Schrader film, The Canyons. Facepalm.
I don't know, like, I think it's cool that Schrader wanted to work with Lindsay because he kind of was quite fascinated with the Lindsay Lohan effect of this sort of virulent backlash.
He's very supportive. He's talked
Yeah.
as well about how he would work with her again if she would got to act together.
Yeah.
But she didn't get her act together apparently during the making of the film. She didn't turn up to a lot of shoots and stuff, and which costs a lot of money, wasted hours.
Yeah, you kind of wanted it to be an example of her showing the
Comeback.
world that she could, you know, be a professional actress, but that didn't really happen. But he says he finds her so interesting and compelling, and no matter what she's doing, she's just so intriguing to watch and listen to.
I wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah.
Really, I don't know why.
Who knows what this? Yeah, but I mean, it's
I don't think she's that great. And it's written by Bret Easton Ellis, who wrote American Psycho, of course, and
So it should have been good, and it was basically like a Kickstarter kind of movie. They had a very low budget. They got people to act in it for free. They got people to volunteer their
it
houses
doesn't look
for
very
free.
good. Like it just looks quite cheap. It looks like it's shot on a phone or something, which it can work. I mean,
It can work.
Tangerine by Sean Baker was shot on a phone, and that's really cool.
But I just didn't think it went anywhere. I thought it was really tawdry.
Yeah, it features
Tawdry.
the main guy in it. Her partner is played by James Dean, Deen.
He's an actual porn actor.
He's a porn actor.
Apparently, he's
Horrible,
a really horrible one.
very violent kind of guy, I think.
He's just so gross and unlikable.
Yeah.
And the acting is not very good.
I mean, that's the thing though with all of Bret Easton Ellis's characters, from Less Than Zero to American Psycho to Rules of Attraction, with that film that you saw with the girl being raped and it's kind of like it's directed by one of the guys that wrote Pulp Fiction, and you said recently that you saw it and it left you just
Oh,
really
I
bad
hate
mark.
that
Yeah.
movie so much.
So those are the
it's so nasty.
those are the
Like,
sort of characters
Yeah,
that
Rules of
populate
Attraction.
his novels.
Yeah, they're
also-
ghastly.
Yeah, Rules of
Freaking
Attraction, and also
ghastly
The
people
Informers.
doing ghastly things, mean, cruel. Yeah, Rules of Attraction
Yeah,
was like one of those films that
unlikable,
made me feel
unlikable
really
characters.
I wish I hadn't seen that movie because there's scenes in it. There's like a suicide scene as well that's got Harry Nilsson playing. I'm like, why would you do that to Harry?
I mean,
But,
I think
yeah,
I think
awful.
American Psycho is an exception because
Yeah.
they're all very unlikable characters, but the film is like so gleeful,
It's
and
gleeful.
so like the humor is, we love black humor,
Yeah,
and
it's just the
great.
right kind of black humor. But yeah, I don't like his other stories. There's just the way the execution. Rules of Attraction is a film I just wish I'd never seen and never been made. I don't see any how it's valid in any way. It's just awful. But yeah, a lot of people feel the same way about American Psycho, so I guess I can't talk. But yeah, no, it really disturbed me.
So we're not going to say anything more about that film.
No,
What are you going to rate it?
1 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a good film to give it like a 1 or 2.
I'd be interested to see why people do like it because your dad likes it.
Oh, that's so weird. I don't know why.
But
He
I'd be
does.
really interested to talk to him about why he liked it.
Yeah,
but yeah, he really liked it. But yeah, I'd give it 2 out of 10 hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. So next is Dog Eat Dog, which you only saw the intro for, with that pink one with Willem Dafoe on his weird face, like it's the
Oh yeah,
effects.
that also looked like something.
It kind of goes downhill after that intro, which
An
is
interesting intro.
interesting
and there's this
intro.
weird stuff happening with his face in the mirror because he's on drugs and things. But
he's that character that Willem plays is based on Eddie Bunker, I think, who wrote a book called Beast So Fierce or something like that. Who was in? He actually acts in Reservoir Dogs, and is sort of this old dishevelled guy character. But yeah, it's an interesting film. It's way better than The Canyons, but it's still quite it's a very trashy sort of film, featuring unhinged performance by Nicolas Cage, and Willem Dafoe as well.
I do like all of that, but I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to watch it. This was maybe another day.
Watching too many Schrader films at this point. So that brings us to First Reformed, which is like a big step up. Like I think that's, a lot of people. It's his only film that has been nominated for an Academy Award, which is kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
For best screenplay, I think.
That's nuts. Mishima alone should have gotten
just-
all the awards.
Shows you how screwed up the Academy is.
I do think it deserved an Oscar though for First Reform, for whatever it was for.
Yep.
Once again, I saw this film and thought, here's a director that's, you know, really well known and renowned and has lots of money behind him. Because it just looks so good, and it was just so. Yeah, I think, you know, with First Reformed and The Card Counter, they're very like, it's kind of like he's really mastered filmmaking in a lot of respects.
Yep. And he said that he's with this film, very influenced again by Bresson, whose Diary of a Country Priest features a priest writing down in his journal, and also Bergman, whose Persona we're going to watch soon, so you haven't seen that, and Tarkovsky as well, which I don't see that as much, but maybe just the religious part of it.
And it's Ethan Hawke as a priest, and he's fantastic.
Yep.
Love Ethan Hawke. He's
very
really
also influenced by Taxi Driver, or those Man Alone in His Room films.
Of course, the priest is a very solitary life. It's very austere. It's very pared back, as you can imagine.
He's going through an existential crisis in that character.
It's really good, and it's got some really like, what is going on moments. It's so subtle, but then when there's these strange moments where, like, I'm not going to give it away, but you're just like,
lots of quotations by Thomas Merton, who's a sort of religious writer, maybe a priest, I can't remember. But yeah,
it's beautiful.
I'd probably give that film a 3.5.
Me too, 3.5, so 7 out of 10 hearts. And if you haven't seen Gattaca with Ethan Hawke, you got to see that, because
I love that
that's one of the reasons I love Ethan Hawke so much, because Gattaca was just mwah. So there we have it.
That's it.
Wow, I'm gonna lie down. A wheat bag or something. Yeah, we need more comfortable chairs, I think.
Yes, we do.
But we did well. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Yes.
Our little Schrader-a-thon. Which of his films have you seen?
Go and watch The Card Counter and look out for Master Gardener.
Yeah.
His next film.
And let us know what your favourite Schrader film is.
Mm.
Have a lovely rest of your week.
Bye.
Bye.